welcome to Drive by Rev. Now, if you've been watching the channel, you know I'm pretty excited about the M6 Mark II and what it brings to the table, especially when it comes to video creation. Because we finally have 4K without that additional 1.6 crop that you saw in the Canon M50. We also have dual pixel autofocus now in 4K, which wasn't in the M50. And with a recent firmware update, we can now shoot in 24p. So it's the ideal camera for shooting with video creation when it comes to the Canon EOS M line. But the icing on the cake hidden within the menu is you now finally have the option to adjust autofocus speed and sensitivity, which is awesome. It's about time, right? So here we are shooting 4K with the shutter at 1/50th, f-stop 1.4, ISO auto, using the Sigma 30mm to start. Now when I say hidden in the menu, what I'm talking about is if you go into video mode, is the only place you're going to see this. And if you're in the camera section, Windows 6, you're going to see it grayed out unless you switch your autofocus to continuous servo. Now beyond that, when you go over the settings for sensitivity and adjusting autofocus speed, you're going to see an info button, and within that info button, it's going to have a bunch of jargon and words that are telling you basically that it does not work unless you put it in single point autofocus. Or in other words, if you go into phase tracking or wide zone autofocus, it's going to be standard speed. So you have to be in one point autofocus to have the speed adjustment available. And beyond that, Canon tells us that this only works with lenses 2009 and later that are EOS M or STM. But what they don't tell you is the specific lenses that are not Canon that it works with. And I'm here to tell you today, it works with the Sigma Trio. Win-win. So that's why we have the Sigma 30 on here right now, because it is right now the fastest lens I have when it comes to autofocus in standard mode, and it can get faster. So here we go, check it out. This is standard sensitivity, standard speed. And if we have the thinnest depth of field possible, this is the speed you're going to see. And it's always been rapid and accurate. This is in a pretty well lit scenario. We're all the way to the back. Boom. So there you go, there's the standard settings. Let's jump up to the fastest it can go to take a look and see exactly how fast can fast get. Remember, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So this is the fastest setting that Sigma gets. This is +2 on speed and +3 on sensitivity. So what that means is whatever subject is in front of that autofocus point, if something else comes in front of it, it's going to respond as quickly as the camera is able to in changing autofocus. Now this to me is one of the best settings for some sort of vlog style shot like this when you're talking about a product and you want to put it in front of the camera and get it in focus, then come back to you. It works great for that. Also, if you're out and about and you're trying to shoot out in the field, outside maybe, and you want to keep things in focus every time you jump to a different subject or you move the autofocus point, speed is of the essence. This is the setting to go to. But sometimes you want that cinematically slow look. So how slow can the fastest lens I have go? I'm kidding, I'm not in slow motion, but the lens is currently operating as slow as it can with autofocus, and I have sensitivity down to -3. So -7 on speed, -3 on sensitivity. So you're gonna see when I put something in front of it, it's gonna take a while to start changing focus, and it's gonna take forever to go all the way to focusing on the item itself. There it is. Now to me, this is kind of an odd combination, so I'm going to switch it up real quick to high sensitivity and slow speed, just so you can see the speed itself as opposed to how this reacts with sensitivity. Because honestly, I think that sensitivity setting would probably be most usable to knock it down to -3 or -2 if you're going to have that high speed autofocus, because you're not going to want that fast speed autofocus jumping back and forth if something comes in front of the screen temporarily like a hand. You want it only to move when you put something intentionally in that spot. So here is slow autofocus with high sensitivity. Okay, so still cinematically slow, except now it's going to start adjusting that autofocus as soon as I change what's in front of it, right? So it's not really locking on. It's going to immediately change. And so I have the ultimate control in this type of position with what I want to put in focus, because I can just move out of that autofocus single point or put something in front of the single point and it'll immediately start going towards that. Now once again, this is the variability you see in speed when it comes to the Sigma lens, right? Ultra fast in standard mode, can go even faster with that +2 speed, and it's got that nice cinematic slow movement when it comes to putting it at -7, right? Now let's see this in comparison to the Canon 32mm native lens. Canon 32, here you go. So if you've watched the review on this lens or its comparison to like the Sigma 30 or other lenses, then you know The one thing I really harp on this lens about is that when it's in video mode, it's sluggishly slow. Now, people will say maybe cinematically slow, but as you saw with the adjustment settings available on the M6 Mark II, it can also be cinematically slow, but it can be adjusted faster. Now, this is back to standard. So this is the standard speed on the 32mm. And as you can see, the Canon speed on this, which is the slowest lens I have on the EF-M mount system, is very slow in comparison to the standard on the Sigma. Quite dramatically slow in comparison. So there you go, there's the standard speed. Now, when we bump it up to as fast as possible, the hope is it can go so fast it gets somewhat close to the Sigma speed. So let's find out. +3 on sensitivity, +2 on speed. That's maxed out on sensitivity and speed, and this is as fast as a Canon 32mm can go. Oh! So it is a little faster. I mean, that's the positive point about this, but it continues to be sluggishly slow. Let's get really close to minimum focus range and see. Oh, that's so slow. I wonder how slow it goes when we go as slow as possible. I'm gonna keep the sensitivity high and see how slow it goes. Okay, so slowest -7 speed setting with the sensitivity still on +3, so we get an immediate response here. Oh, that is slower. You're gonna see it actually roll through. Back to me. Here it comes. To the background. All the way back to the front. Oh my goodness. This is gonna take a while. Well, that really did slow it down. So I'd say it's interesting. There's maybe as much variance available in the 32mm, but the speed is all the way down the line. It's much, much slower overall. Its slow speed is much slower than the Sigma, and its fast speed is much slower than the Sigma. Now, my problem with this is only this. I'm not entirely sure if you're ever gonna need, well, no, I could see some uses for this slow of an autofocus, but honestly, when it comes to vlogging, you're probably gonna need that high speed much more often. So one of the most valuable aspects of that Sigma lens is how accurate it is and how fast it can be when it comes to autofocusing. So there you go. Here's the mystery when it comes to, well, how fast can the Canon 32 go? All right, now keeping with a 32mm for just a second, as my lighting starts to change a bit to the lower side, I want to take a look and see how well this works when it comes to sensitivity. So if you knock down the sensitivity to -3, that's considered a lock-on mode. And the idea behind that is, here with high sensitivity, if I put something in front of it, you're gonna see the autofocus kind of bounce, right? And you see this a lot with some of the cameras out there that have really poor autofocusing setups. You know, Canon's rivaling Sony when it comes to speed and accuracy here. But if you have a camera that hunts a lot, you gotta be able to solve that if the shot requires it not to hunt. And sometimes the only solution to that with some cameras out there is to put it in manual focus and just shoot and make sure you stay within that depth of field to make sure you're still in focus. And then, you know, of course, some people will go back and look at their footage and be like, I couldn't tell I was out of focus. So it's super annoying. But if you have a really accurate autofocus and you can keep it from hunting, from something briefly coming in front of that autofocus point, super valuable. So here we go. Canon 32 with low sensitivity, lock-on mode, and let's go standard autofocus speed. Okay, so you're talking about something comes in front of the camera. Slow it down. Oh, I moved a little bit there. How about this? Oh, locked on. So the autofocus point is right here. That's how big it is too. Or even slower than that. I'm talking. There it went. So basically, yeah, right there. That's pretty good. So you don't get that hunting and pecking, right? Even though I'm coming right in front of the lens, you got to give it about 1 Mississippi. Now, interestingly enough, you can make this even better by slowing down the autofocus all the way and leaving it also on lock-on mode. So this is as good as that lock-on gets when it comes to utilizing speed and sensitivity adjustment. This is -7 speed, -3 on sensitivity using the Canon 32mm. started to there. So basically, if you put it in the autofocus point more than about a second, 1 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Let's cover the whole center. Get rid of the subject, right? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Yeah, I did it. Let's go 1 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi. Look at that. No hunting and pecking there. Now I wish they could use a face tracking autofocus with this. I don't understand why it had to be single point autofocus only, but it is what it is, right? You got to take it how it is until we own the camera universe and can just, or have a camera genie, just kind of wish for the perfect camera. Okay, back to standard settings on the Canon 32mm. However, now we're in low light. Same shutter speed, same f-stop, but it's gonna have to shoot around 10,000 ISO the whole time. So, probably gonna lose a little bit of accuracy, I think, but let's find out. So far, so good. In fact, that's the same speed as it was with a lot of ample light coming through the window from direct sunlight. That's pretty good. I really like the colors too. All right, let's see how fast it can go. Okay, Canon 32 at its fastest speed possible. Let's see what happens. We're gonna go all the way to the background. That's as fast as it can go. Oh, that's when it loses because the subject is too close to the camera. See, in low light, that Canon 32 just gets wrecked. This is fast. This is sensitivity up 3. This is speed up 2. It's max on speed and sensitivity, so it should be as good as it gets. Let's get a little farther back, help it out. Come on, please. You can do it. There we go. That's what it's supposed to do. Okay, but watch this. We're going to throw back on the Sigma 30. Sigma 30, we'll be curious to see if it loses speed itself or even accuracy from this kind of low light situation. So this is back to standard. Not bad. A little slower than it normally is though. It's super close. That was like 2 inches. Bam! Look at that. Let's get beyond minimum focus range. Let's really throw something at it, right? There we go. Yeah, you can always rely on that Sigma autofocus. Let's see what happens when we boost it up to as fast and as sensitive as possible. Sensitivity +3 and speed +2. Let's go minimum focus distance. Boom! Oh, look at that. Here's to the 3, to the 4, to the 1. Yep. Can't get better than that. At least not with this line of lenses. Super good for vlogging. Look at this, low light shooting at 10,000 ISO. This is indirect light, by the way. There is no light coming from this side of me. It's all behind me and bouncing off the off-white walls. So this is pretty awesome. And the shot actually looks pretty good. I mean, depending on the look you're going for. Well, there you have it, a look at the M6 Mark II's adjustments with autofocus speed and sensitivity with a pretty wide range between the fast Sigma 30mm and the slow Canon 32. In fact, between those two lenses alone, you're gonna have quite a choice to choose from in variation of autofocus reaction and speed. Pretty awesome if you're gonna rely on autofocus for your video creation needs. All right, y'all, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to comment and let me know how you utilize autofocus when you're creating video content. And don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed, because I'll see you next time on the next DBR.